Starting off nearly 6,000 years ago, around 3600 BCE, the first city, Uruk, was created. Obviously, the first ever city is an important development to mention when we discuss the history of human societal development. Prior to the city's formation, the people of the Sumer area in the land between two rivers lived in small towns, villages, and nomadic groups. But as they interacted, it became apparent that life is much easier when you can just do what you're good at and trade for the resources to meet your other needs, so they started to build a city, relying far more on mutual support than before. But there's one major caveat to creating a broad, impersonal community that is nearly completely absent from all of nomadic culture, and that is politics. As historians, we can use primary sources like this one, called the Uruk Vase, to gain information about their cultural, political, and religious practices even as far back as 3200 BCE, and further. This vase is made of alabaster, and is regarded as possibly the oldest surviving example of relief sculpture, where depth is added to an image by bonding the foreground imagery to the background behind it. It stands 96 centimeters tall, depicting 4 separate registers. Relief sculpture was common at the time, but very little remains from the period, excepting this example. Depicted on the bottom register are both the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, as well as plant life such as reeds, barley, wheat, date, palm, and more. On the second tier are alternating rams and ewes. On the third are nude men offering baskets of food and other offerings to the fourth tier, which depicts the goddess Inanna, accepting the offerings at her shrine and storehouse, surrounded by banners, decorations, and riches. This tells us that people of the time, or at least this artist, considered the world under a certain hierarchy, with gods depicted above men, men above beasts, and with beasts above the plant life and land. This also tells us that they put supreme power into their gods, unlike some indigenous cultures of the Americas, for example, that are more integrated with their gods, but similar to that of the Abrahamic religions who worship their gods directly. Relief sculpture is still very popular in museums and is used today. This vase was likely for decoration, but also from an artistic standpoint to explain to others one or a few persons' visions of the known universe, encouraging a free exchange of ideas that would be made infinitely harder in the form of many isolated groups and small villages or towns. This piece demonstrates a period of great prosperity for the people that transitioned to city life, and how they could occupy more of their time with art, philosophy, and religion, as a more collective and cohesive unit than in smaller villages and in nomadic societies. During this new period, the people could specialize and devote themselves to career paths far more effectively, which greatly increased their capacity for production and reduced dangers from illnesses and hunger, but more importantly, created a much wider connection of culture between individuals to become one collective.